Ooh, welcome back to the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That is Gonzo. That is Zan. I am Shub, and we are here to discuss Week 0. College football is back. We have actual games that have been played that we can talk about, and we have games coming up next week. The real season starts Week 1. We're going to give you all some predictions. Also going to go through a little bit of interesting QB battles. A few schools have named their starters, some haven't. Little interesting tidbits there. But gentlemen, we got to talk about Week 0. Man, oh man, Week 0. It's Week 0. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like that appetizer before the main course. And sometimes it's a good appetizer, sometimes it's a bad appetizer. This year, for me at least, it was a very bad appetizer. I kind of got hammered.
I would say with the appetizers, man, it's at least something, like even though it's not the best, you're not starving. You're not starving going to that main course. Like you go to the meal starving, but you're just thankful you have something to eat. And that's what Week 0 is.
I'll say I'm more willing to watch a CUSA matchup than the third weekend of preseason NFL football. And I like preseason for what it's worth. But if I had to pick, these games at least mean something. They count towards the 12 regular season games. So even though the quality of opponents may not have been there, I just think the fact that college football is back is like, I guess it'd be like that Christmas Eve feel. It's like, okay, we're not here. We can't open the presents yet. That's going to be next really just week. But I'd say even with how some of the results went, it's still good to have the sport back.
Yeah, 100%, man. I'll watch Jacksonville State take on UMass any day over the Rams and the Raiders in a preseason.
Yes.
I mean, I was sitting there watching all those games. I mean, I remember texting you guys like, okay, they're in the red zone. Okay, not anymore.
Hey, man, when you're starving, you'll eat just about anything. You'll eat animal bones. You'll eat anything that gets thrown on your plate.
And that's what I was doing on Saturday.
Speaking of some animal bones, where do we want to start? Because we can go sicko. Where do we want to go here?
There's only so many games.
I want to start out in Dublin. I like that Ireland tradition as much as I'd rather that either be in South Bend or in Annapolis from just a traditionalist perspective. Watching Sam Hartman, and yeah, it was Navy, but man, he cooked. And Notre Dame's running back, Estime, he was cooking. That was just men versus boys, and that's all respect to the Naval Academy. But if Notre Dame could put that together against some more high tier opponents, that may be a good sign of things to come. I mean, because Sam Hartman just looked completely just commanding the offense.
He only had like 3 or 4 incompletions the entire game. And that's what I was saying. I was really high on Sam Hartman going into this season. I had him in my top 5 QBs for this season. And that's primarily because we saw how productive he was at Wake Forest when they had an atrocious offensive line. Then he goes over to Notre Dame. What's Notre Dame known for? Really good offensive lines year in and year out. So now Sam Hartman's getting protection. So imagine if you're productive when you're not protected. Now imagine if you have time to actually make your reads. It's pretty crazy. Sam Hartman may end up being a first-round pick this year, and I kind of wish I took him as my 3rd spot for the Heisman contention instead of Blake Corum, because he could be a little sneaky character in the discussion.
Really? Yeah, I think Sam Hartman, at the very least, I think he's definitely going to raise his draft stock after this year because he's going to be, obviously he's in the pro system now versus running that slow mesh at Wake Forest. So, I mean, this was a good move for him. He gets a better offensive line. Pro system, they like that for the NFL. I mean, look how far just running a pro system took Will Levis, and then
some NIL money too. I mean, he's cooking.
Though I will say this is a tough year to come out if you're a quarterback because man, there's some really good dogs at the top.
It's deep,
but it is deep this year. But hey, good for Sam Hartman. I mean, Notre Dame's offensive line, that was the big difference for me. I mean, they do have a future first round pick, Joe Alt at left tackle. Man, they manhandled Navy and. I know I was the Navy guy here. I got some stock in Navy, man. I have multiple futures bets on Navy this year. I will say from Navy's perspective, I wouldn't be worried about this. I mean, brand new coach, you're implementing a little bit of like scheme changes, but you got to open up against Notre Dame. I mean, that's kind of tough. Obviously, when Navy goes to play their American competition the rest of the year, they're going to get it together. I still think they will win at least 6 games. I think they're going to bat above 500 rest of the season. So I'm not worried about Navy. I still think all of my futures bets that I placed on them are in play.
And just as I was telling you guys that when that first little sip of football came around, I was texting you guys like, man, Notre Dame is manhandling Navy on the offensive line. They're off like it's not even close. Like they don't stand a chance. This game's over. Like, and it was the first quarter. Like the trenches decide everything, and when it's that dominant and you can notice it that early, I mean, good luck. We saw it 42-3. Any other games that we really want to bring up? I know we had some other Power 5 action on week 0. How about Vanderbilt and Hawaii? Anyone have any tidbits for this game? 35-28.
I got a grudge against Vanderbilt. It's the first Gonzo grudge of the year. This felt like one of the cleanest spread plays of week 0. I'm like, okay, a little over 2 touchdowns. Hawaii's not as atrocious as last year, but and God bless everything that's going on out there with the wildfire. So there's just a lot going on. Hawaii's in year 2 of the Timmy Chang era. And I just expected Vanderbilt to come in and kind of wax them again, especially at home. And I don't care that you can only put 25,000 people in the stadium. Fact of the matter is, you went over there and put up 60 on them. I thought it would be kind of a replica performance. And the fact that it came down to a fourth quarter interception was just frustrating, especially, I mean, it's good towards the over. I only need a couple more for that to hit. But I'm hoping it's just kind of the week 0 jitters, because some teams, I saw this with Florida against Miami many years ago, where they came out in week 0 and it was just a little too early and they maybe needed another week of preparation. So even though I'm mad to have lost the spread cover, I'm hoping Vanderbilt can grow from this and continue to play well moving forward. And good for Hawaii hanging in there, honestly.
They showed a lot of grit. They showed a lot of grit for sure. Down 3 scores and to come back. What's interesting is they were in the red zone on 2 separate occasions and they opted to go for it. Failed both times. So if Hawaii had actually taken field goals in both those instances, it would have been a 1-point game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought Hawaii was right there. I mean, midway through the second half, we were texting in our chat, and Hawaii was averaging more yards per play. Like down for down, they were better than Vanderbilt. And I mean, Shager, that guy looks like really improved. I mean, at least the system. Solid. Yeah, they run that run and shoot there at Hawaii. So, I mean, last year I bet they're under because I just figured Timmy Chang, like they basically had to flush the toilet last year, a whole rebuild, and then they got all these new players in there, almost literally starting from scratch. And now it's year 2. It's like, I think we're starting to see that improvement. I mean, if you're Hawaii, you travel all the way out to Nashville to face an SEC team. I know it's Vandy, but it's still a Power 5 school, Power 5 roster. And you hung in there pretty well, and quarterback play was good in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm that guy that took Vanderbilt's under this year. I was a psychopath that took the under 3.5. But man, I don't know, man. I wouldn't say like I'm jumping over the moon if I'm Vandy. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely not against that opponent. I want to dive into the game I was most excited for week 0, and it's some G5 action. This is probably G5 Gonzo. I mean, like, homage to you. San Diego State, Ohio, and I have a bone to pick with this game. 2,
I think we all do.
2, well, the first one, I would say, 1, observationally, San Diego State was a perfect fit for the Pac-12. There were like 13 people in the stands, so it's a shame that didn't work out for them. And then secondly, me taking Ohio in the team draft, and then Curtis Rourke going down in the first freaking quarter, and then Ohio being completely inept and incompetent on offense without Curtis Rourke. Oh my goodness. I think the final was 20-6. That's when I stopped watching anyway. I knew it was over. But yeah, tough game, and it really sucks because Ohio may not even be a contender in the MAC anymore. Meanwhile, San Diego State's walking out with the dub. How do you guys feel about the game? We all took L's in that game on our picks last week.
I mean, I'm just going to get out in front and say it. I think we watched that game. You saw the first 2 drives when Rourke was in there. I mean, Ohio was looking pretty good. They were looking like that was like a Power 5 level offense. Like Rourke is a Power 5 level capable quarterback. If Rourke didn't get hurt, I think Ohio wins this game. Like legitimately, I think Ohio would have won with Rourke. I mean, that's the difference. And then the backup Harris was just yikes. Dude, 3 picks. I mean,
in the red zone too. Like they were about to score on many occasions, and he kept throwing picks. So Ohio, it's weird. They were still moving the ball without Rourke, but every time they would get close to scoring, their quarterback would throw a pick or do something stupid.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like you would think if the QB play was that bad, the drop off. I mean, CJ Harris went 18 of 41, 3 picks. I mean, atrocious. Like Ohio still kept it close, until the very end. I know there's
Defense
some
looked
garbage
solid. They
time
just got
scoring.
worn down because they were in the game the whole game.
Like, man, if Rourke didn't get hurt, Ohio wins that game. I'm
Yeah, for sure.
set in
But
stone. But
Rourke's hurt, and apparently I heard he had prior torn ACL and he got tweaked in the knee again, so he
right,
might be out for the season. So we don't know yet, but Rourke might be done.
I'm looking up on the fly articles about his injury. Ohio's head coach says that he is, quote, not too concerned, but I don't know.
Good for me. Hopefully,
That's a
hopefully he
very
can come
All
back.
but that is a very head coach-esque answer right there, though. So we don't know what that means. Like, not too concerned about him being done for the year, or not being concerned about him being done for like 6 weeks.
My
You know,
interpretation would probably mean he'll be back for conference play. Like we'll still compete in our conference.
and that's
Yeah,
all
and
that matters
Non-con,
at the
maybe
end of the day.
not.
they
Yeah,
punt
but
on non-con anyways. I mean,
Unless you're
that's kind of
Gonzo and you have a best bet or you have a
no,
bold
that's
prediction
gone.
going.
No, they had to go undefeated to make a New Year's Six. The MAC is just too weak. 11-1, they'll be like, that's sick. You can go out to the Bahamas, the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl, whatever they call it now. Like, there's no shot. It's up to Toledo, who went 7-5 and won the conference last year. I will say though, Sam Wilgus, if I'm even saying his last name right, he's a Blitnikoff watch list contender, and he put up 10 catches for 103 yards, didn't get into the end zone, but I think that is another name for people who may not root hard for the Bobbies to be aware of for Ohio this year. So even though Rourke is out and down, they do still have a playmaker on offense in Sam Wilgus. It's just, can you get to him the ball consistently? Because if you can, I mean, look what they did with the backup. They got it to him 10 times for 100 yards. So it'd be nice if you can get Rourke in there to really get cooking with Sam again.
And as far as San Diego State, I feel like even though you won this game, I feel like you got to be a little concerned, because I don't think that they were that great of a team. They just kind of got lucky that the best player in the game got hurt, and they didn't really pull away against the team that they really should have pulled away against. But we'll see. It's week 0, so let's not overreact here. But no, number one rule of week 0, don't overreact.
oh, shout
But
out! I can't remember his name, but Hawaii had like a true freshman wide receiver who had like 140 yards or something like that against Vandy. So shout out to him. I can't recall his name off the top of my head, but I remember seeing that.
that's a Shuby snack performance right there. Well, I do want to give out my Shuby snack, because Shuby snacks are it's a high reward. It's a very, very sought after reward, and they're pretty tasty. The Shuby snacks taste pretty good. So I got to give one out for week 0, and I got to head out to that USC San Jose State game. And you know what? It's week 0. We're knocking off the rust. This may seem a little not lazy, but he's getting a lot of hype. Zachariah Branch, like, I mean, the dude's a true freshman. Like, and I know he's a 5-star, but like, a lot of times these 5-stars come in and they don't just click right away. Zachariah Branch looks like the real deal. And I know it's just one game against San Jose State, but I mean, from that little sample size of what we saw, I mean, that dude is shifty, man. Like, and he's, again, true freshman. So I think he's got a bright future. So I got to give a Shuby snack to him. He's coming in right out of the gates as a true freshman. USC's defense, though, they don't get a Shuby snack. They definitely don't get a Shuby snack.
Yeah, they don't look that much improved from last year, although it's still pretty early. USC struggling early. I think personally, it was probably them just trying not to open up the playbook too much because they saw San Jose is so inferior that they didn't have to open up the playbook. Then they realized San Jose kind of showed up to play a little bit, so they had to kind of breeze it off in the second half there. But yeah, no, Caleb Williams played really well, although he was shaky to start off the game. Zachariah Branch with those 2 touchdowns, very, very good player. He's got a bright future. He'll be in the NFL if he keeps that up.
Dude, and Deuce Robinson, the tight end, he's a true freshman as well. He's
Yeah,
from here
and
in
I think he was a
Arizona.
5-star. Yeah.
Yeah, no, him and I mean, those are 2 like true freshman studs they got right there.
Yeah, they have amazing receiving group.
3 for 44 from him.
I tip my cap to San Jose State and Cordero. They fought hard, put up 4 touchdowns, and I have another grudge against that USC defense, because when you cost me covers, especially when you cost me a cover by 1.5 points, and that's me getting in early and locking that in. And granted, when I do the picks for the site, there's no money on it, so I just try to get the best line at that time. That's what I take pride in, is being vigilant. And the fact that you just gave up 28 points to San Jose State is
At home.
it's concerning. And I'm very curious when some of the elite, and I'm going to say this, elite Pac-12 offenses that you got to face, you're gonna hope that Caleb shows up because these games, I'm not kidding, will be like 56 to like 53.
So basically, it's the same as last year. I mean, well, that's the thing. You say it's concerning if you're a USC fan, but I wouldn't say it's surprising, at least not to me.
No,
Like, I didn't think that I know you can land a bunch of transfers and it should be better. I mean, maybe that's one of those cases where they get better as the season goes on because, that happens a lot of times. But I mean, the good news for USC, though, you know who their first 6 games are? Remember when we went through win totals? USC's season is like totally backloaded until they play all the big dogs in the Pac-12. This is their schedule: San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, bye, at Arizona State, at Colorado, Arizona. I mean, that's like a complete cakewalk of the bottom half of the Pac-12 until you get Notre Dame, Utah, Washington, Oregon, UCLA.
And it gets a little rough, yeah. But at
It does
least
get a little rough.
that schedule's so beneficial because it gives them all the time in the world to try to get, anything they needed sorted out. I think that's very, very favorable to them. So if they have any issues before those games, you don't have to find out the hard way with the fat loss in the beginning of the season.
But I mean, yeah, even if the defense does look better, it's just like you saw those teams I listed. I mean, these are terrible teams. I feel like we're not really going to know how good they are until Notre Dame and Utah and Oregon, etc. But it is what it is.
Well, I want to slide over to Louisiana real quick, over to Gonzo's backyard, because I do have a bone to pick over there, and I do have a Zandy bar to give out. Louisiana Tech able to pull out that game against FIU late. FIU had 4 passing yards. Zandy bar to FIU's offense. 4 passing yards in a football game, and they almost won.
Yeah, how is that possible?
And they
how
almost
only throw for 4 yards.
And they almost won. It took some last-minute heroics from La Tech to win that game.
That is CUSA. That is CUSA sicko right there. That is a CUSA sicko game in week 0, and it was on full display for the country to see. I love it. I mean, the disparity. La Tech had 333 passing yards. How do you have 333 passing yards? Your opponent has 4, and you almost lose the game. How is that possible?
From what I saw, I did watch the end of that one, but from what I saw is they couldn't finish. I think the kicker missed at least 2 field goals, and thank God it didn't come down to another one, even though I feel like he would have hit it. But definitely, again, a product of starting a week earlier than you anticipated, and even against FIU, who I do not think is going to be good this year. Literally everyone good on that team is playing for a Power 5 team right now.
I mean, 4 passing yards. I think that's pretty explanatory.
Yeah. And I tipped the cap to Hank Bachmeier, find himself a new home. Sometimes quarterbacks, the most high profile one I can think of is Jeff Driscoll. You leave a situation, come out to Ruston, Louisiana, which is North Louisiana, and you can do some good things. And as someone who likes Tech to maybe make the conference championship, that this is a good start. As disastrous as some stuff was, this was the cherry on top, at least for me, of this kind of melted Sunday to close out the night. It was probably like my game of week 0. It was competitive and came down to fourth quarter heroics. I mean, and then maybe Jacksonville State, which we can get into later, but that was like one of 2 competitive games we had.
I was just about to shout them out. Shout out to Jacksonville State. First game
sir.
is an FBS program. You get a dub in a conference game too against UTEP, who, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I buy the Phil Steele magazine every year. Phil Steele had UTEP as his 2nd best team in CUSA. And Gavin Hardison apparently is potentially could be drafted. Hype. He's getting hype. I don't know. But shout out to Jack State, man. That's a good win against a relatively decent G5 CUSA team. I mean, we're talking about a low bar here, but
Rich Rod can win anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's at West Virginia. I mean, he didn't win at Michigan, but he's coached at Michigan. You're like Jack State has a guy that was a candidate for the Alabama job. So if he could start instilling the right things, they could be like a Liberty in a few years, for all we know.
You know what the NCAA says? Congrats, Jacksonville State. You've moved up to FBS. You know what your reward is? You were banned from the postseason. Yeah.
For 2 years.
Just absolutely brain dead, man. I can't get over that. Well,
that's probably why North Dakota State won't make the move. They're like, dude, you're going to suspend us for 2 years? How do we do that?
Seriously, though. Well, Gonzo, we got to address the elephant in the room here.
Oh, I know.
The UMass Minutemen defeated my New Mexico State Aggies, my 8-win projected New Mexico State Aggies.
I found that one.
That broke a bold prediction. That's all right. Bold predictions are bold for a reason. But man, the Minutemen are 1-0 for the first time since 1984. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I can't. That's a big egg on my face. Kudos to UMass. I mean, I just didn't think they had it, and more so like the grudge. So I do have a grudge, but it's New Mexico State because okay, sure you lost to UMass, but where I kind of have a problem is not only did you lose at home, which it's not like New Mexico State has an inherent home field advantage. You gave up 40 points. Oh my gosh! And I know it got hectic in the fourth quarter, but like Jerry Kill, like, do you have like bowl game hangover, man? Like, I wanted to buy into y'all's hype and be like, okay, I'm not going to automatically fade New Mexico State like I've been doing for the last few years. And you go and put in a performance like this, I swear, when I try to talk crap to some of these G5 teams, Tulane last year, UMass this year, they go watch. UMass going to go 10-2.
UMass is going to go 10-2 this year. That's right. Book it. And Gonzo like, cursed them. Gonzo reverse cursed them.
He has reverse voodoo.
I mean, no, I tip my cap to UMass. Fomachan, he plays absolute butt off, and Auburn better hope that game's not at noon, and they better care. I think they'll still win, but the cover could very much be in jeopardy. It's about 5 tutties right now, so I'm mad at New Mexico State, but I do tip my cap to the Minutemen and Don Brown.
It's all right. You can save the grudges. The grudges can be minor this week. Gonzo's grudges. That's our new segment here. We have Zanny Bar, Shuby Snacks, and we've introduced Gonzo's grudges very begrudgingly here, to put it lightly. But I'm sure at some point in the season we're gonna have the line come out of the cage, and it's gonna get a little rowdy in here on the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Because I know you, Gonzo. I know you. You're one of my best friends. So we know we're going to go to, at some point this season, there's going to be one that really just strikes a nerve.
Could be a hole
it's
in the
wall. Covers. It's the spread covers. The spread covers probably get me the most because it's like the game's been over for since the first half, but I'm mad because we're punting on 4th and 1 when I need you to be going for it so you can try and keep the game close to cover. Yeah, I mean, week 1's got a bunch of that. It is going to be it's going to be something, but I like the segment and the viewers get the tone down. Y'all get the raw version through text when it's going live. I mean, and Shoob's been there in person for some of these reactions. So
oh, it has.
Oh, I have, yeah. And Zan's heard the stories. Zan's heard some of the stories.
That's what I was saying. The yearly hole in the wall.
Man,
maybe a mixed extra point. There's going to be a mixed extra point in the game this year. It's always
a mixed extra point.
And it's going to be an ACC team.
Something in.
There will be an ACC team that misses a PAT with the game on the line.
Extra points with Florida State are killing me. That's the second time after last year now. But hey, that makes for a heck of a rematch. They'll be playing right now in 7 days.
That is very true. Well, guys, that'll do it for this podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you are listening on Apple, if you're watching on YouTube, appreciate it. Give us a like and always comment. Feel free to comment. Let us know what picks you guys like. Let us know who you're playing, who you're betting on, who you think's going to win, who you think's going to lose. Let us know all of it. We love to hear. We love to interact with you guys. And subscribe too if you haven't subscribed. If you like to hear what we have to say, give us a little bit of a hit and check out our channel. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Week 1 is upon us, boys. Can't wait. It's going to be fun. This is the Saturday Scholars for Gonzo, Zan, and Shub signing out. See y'all later. Have a great day.